Welcome everyone, and if you can please wave at the camera. Where does the world come from? What source gives life to the cosmos around us? These questions began the tradition of Greek philosophy millennia ago. However, like anything in the world, Greek philosophy would evolve to answer new and more abstract questions. Nonetheless, the questions these ancient Greeks attempted to answer aren't limited to the Greeks. Every person who has and will ever live is faced with the same questions, including the members of the audience and myself. Therefore, having understood the weight of these questions, it's critical to examine the exorbitant knowledge these ancient philosophers contain. However, before reviewing each philosopher and what they thought, it's essential to understand the history of Greek philosophy, then move on to the pre-Socratics, the first group of philosophers, then the second group of philosophers called the Socratics. First, Greek philosophy had a complex life and changed form throughout the ages from each interpreter attempting to answer its questions. These varying perspectives and questions create the history of Greek philosophy. However, understanding Greek philosophy requires understanding what philosophy is. According to Joshua Mark's article, Philosophy, the term philosophy comes from the Greek words philo, meaning love, and sophia, meaning wisdom. Therefore, philosophy is understood as the love of wisdom, which is typically applied as the study of understanding the most profound and simplest matters of human existence. Mark would also go on to describe in this article the 5 branches of philosophy. First, epistemology, the study of knowledge and how one knows what one knows. Second, metaphysics, the study of existence. Third, ethics, the study of behavior or actions in accordance with their morality. Fourth, politics, the study of governance. And lastly, fifth, aesthetics, the study of art concerning beauty and what makes something or someone beautiful. Now that we understand philosophy, it's possible to examine the history of Greek philosophy and its teachers. Joshua Mark delineates the history of Greek speculation in his article, Greek Philosophy, by describing how a man named Thales of Miletus pondered on what the first cause of existence was, which began the tradition of Greek philosophy. Thales' students, Anaximander and Anaximenes, would continue their teacher's studies, and subsequent Greeks would take up the mantle of asking the same question Thales once did, giving rise to the pre-Socratics. Then, one day, a man named Socrates began his pursuit of knowledge and expanded the question Greek philosophy tried to answer. Therefore, Socrates' students, such as Plato and Aristotle, and any subsequent Greek philosophers, would shift their speculation from the first cause onto Socrates' new question of ethics and morality. Aristotle would then go on to tutor Alexander the Great in the philosophical ways of the ancient Greeks, which, when Alexander conquered Persia, would spread Greek philosophy from the west to the east. Moreover, since Greek philosophy began with the pre-Socratics, it's essential to examine these earlier philosophers first. The first 3 pre-Socratics were the most influential and philosophers of the time, due to their creation of a formal inquiry of philosophical thought. As previously stated, the pre-Socratics were concerned with knowing what the first cause of existence was, with Thales suggesting water was the first cause, while his students Anaximander and Anaximenes suggested otherwise. In the article Anaximander considers the apeiron the first cause, since it is the substance from which all phenomena arise in the boundless and formless universe. Other pre-Socratics would offer their own interpretation of the first cause, such as Pythagoras, who denied the existence of a first cause, arguing that numbers were the sole truth in the world. Pythagoras advocated that just as numbers have no beginning or end, so too does the world and human soul not have a beginning or end. Now, these are only a fraction of these philosophers' interpretations of the first cause. However, they indicate the great diversity in thought amongst these peers. Lastly, the birth of Socrates brought about a new age of philosophical thought in ancient Greece, the Socratic philosophers. The Socratic philosophers would begin expanding upon the inquiries the early philosophers sought to answer. Joshua Mark details this change in his article, Socrates, by inspecting Socrates' decision to move philosophy away from physical science and onto more abstract concepts such as morality and ethics. Now, if you would please look at the image in front of me, there is a quote by Socrates that reads, "As for me, all I know is that I know nothing." Socrates highlights that wisdom is not achievable through having knowledge, but instead accepting that one's knowledge is limited and choosing to learn and grow from them is a sign of true wisdom. Socrates' quote illustrates the shift from a physically focused pursuit of knowledge to a more introspective search. Socrates would go on to have many students, but the most famous and influential were Plato and Aristotle, who would go on to pursue their own philosophical paths after Socrates' death. Overall, the philosophical landscape of ancient Greece was an ever-changing field of study that required understanding the historical progression of Greek philosophy before examining the pre-Socratics and finally the age of the Socratic philosophers. So, the big takeaway from this is that it's imperative that we learn from the speculation of the ancient philosophers to ensure that the pursuit of knowledge never remains static.